All right, so you know how you're always trying to come up with like your next big business idea?
Yeah.
Well, imagine a tool that could actually give you like real insights instead of just going with your gut.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're going to be diving into today.
Okay.
We're talking about eLancing,
Interesting.
but not how you usually think about it.
Okay.
We're thinking of Lansing as like a research tool
Oh, cool.
to actually understand entrepreneurship itself.
Wow. That's pretty cutting edge. When you think about it, eLancing platforms are kind of like a living laboratory. You can study how people come up with ideas, how they like form teams, how they make decisions, all in a real-world business context.
Yeah, exactly. And to like guide our deep dive today, we got this really fascinating paper from 2012
Okay.
by Herman and Guinness.
A Guinness.
Yeah, like the beer.
Okay.
And Solo Lawal. They basically lay out all the challenges of like traditional entrepreneurship research
Mm.
and how eLancing can like address them in a totally revolutionary way.
I mean, one of the biggest hurdles, I think, for researchers is generalizability. So many studies are just limited to small samples, like college students.
Right.
And it makes it really difficult to like apply the findings to like the real world of entrepreneurship. But eLancing gives you access to this global workforce across industries, across experience levels.
It's like going from a tiny focus group
Yeah,
to this like massive, diverse pool of participants.
exactly.
Okay, but what about the real world messiness of entrepreneurship? How do you control for all those variables that might influence success?
That is where the true beauty of eLancing comes in. You can design tasks that mimic real entrepreneurial situations while still being able to like manipulate specific variables so you can isolate their effects. It's like a controlled experiment, but in a setting that reflects how people actually work online.
So instead of just watching what happens naturally, you can test hypotheses about what drives that behavior.
Exactly.
Can you give me an example? How would you study something like team dynamics using eLancing?
Okay, so let's say you're interested in like entrepreneurial team efficacy, which is basically how confident a team is in their ability to succeed. You could create a scenario on an eLancing platform where teams work together on a business plan pitch.
Okay, I can see that. You'd have like teams of marketers,
Yeah.
finance people, programmers, all collaborating virtually, just like in a real startup.
Exactly. Now here's where it gets really cool. You can manipulate the level of experience within each team. So some teams might have members with tons of experience, while others might be made up of like first-time founders. Then you observe how that experience influences their interactions and ultimately their performance on the task.
And that's where the unique data from eLancing comes in, right?
Yes.
You're not just relying on surveys. You can actually see their communication, their decision-making processes,
Yeah.
all within the platform itself.
Exactly. You get this amazing window into how teams actually function, how they handle conflict, how they adapt their plans, all in real time. It's a level of detail that's just incredibly difficult to capture with traditional research methods.
Yeah, it's like you can see all the behind-the-scenes stuff without having to deal with any of the drama.
Exactly. And the possibilities go way beyond just team dynamics. Like, think about the classic debate, opportunity recognition versus execution.
Right. Like, is it about the idea or is it about how you bring it to life?
Exactly. With eLancing, we can actually tease those apart.
Okay.
Like, we can actually see if teams that really hustle
Yeah.
and adapt their approach, if they're more successful, even if the initial idea wasn't like groundbreaking or anything.
So that's like a totally different way to understand
Yeah.
what drives success.
Yeah.
What other questions can we look at with eLancing?
Well, okay, consider the role of information and creativity.
Okay.
Does too much information stifle innovation? Or does a lack of information make it harder to come up with something truly new with eLancing? We can design tasks that control how much information the participants get, and then we can measure the impact that has on their creative output.
Wow. So it's like we're running experiments on innovation itself.
Pretty much. And the great thing about eLancing is how accessible it is. Guinness and Lal, they point out that recruiting and compensating participants can actually be really cost-effective.
That's a huge plus, especially for researchers that maybe don't have tons of resources.
Yeah, it really democratizes the whole research process.
For sure.
And even though there are obviously limitations, the potential for eLancing to like push entrepreneurship research forward, it's undeniable.
Right.
I mean, think about it. We're going beyond just hypothetical scenarios and self-reported data. We can watch real people tackle real challenges in an environment that really reflects how people work online.
It's like a window into what that journey is really like. But let's get down to it. Why should our listeners care? How can this research actually help entrepreneurs or people who want to support them? I mean, that's the million-dollar question, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, think about it this way. Better research leads to better understanding. And that leads to better support for entrepreneurs. Like if we can figure out what actually helps them succeed, we can create better resources, better training programs, even like policies
Yeah.
to help them thrive.
So it's about more than just like academics writing papers.
Yeah, for sure.
It's about using that information to actually help people.
Exactly. And remember, eLancing is a big part of this shift to the gig economy.
Right.
And what we learn from studying entrepreneurs on these platforms can apply to like a huge part of the workforce now. People who want to work for themselves, build their own thing.
It's a whole new world of work. And
Yeah.
it's changing so fast.
Exactly. And, this paper that we've been talking about, it came out in 2012.
Right, a while ago.
The Lansing landscape has definitely changed since then.
Yeah. I mean, new platforms have come out.
Yeah.
The technology has changed. Even just how people use these platforms is probably totally different.
So it makes you wonder, how has eLancing itself changed research? What new opportunities are out there? What new challenges for studying entrepreneurship in this constantly changing world?
Yeah, it's like we need to keep digging deeper to see how this is all changing how we think about entrepreneurship.
So whether you're starting a business yourself or supporting founders or just interested in this whole process, remember that eLancing, it's more than just a place to find freelancers.
Right.
It's a tool for understanding what it means to be an entrepreneur today.
Yeah, it shows us how the future of work is being shaped online. And if we can understand these platforms, we can help entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And the whole economy. So keep on diving deep, everyone. There's a whole world out there to discover